Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. You know you're doing something right when Russia tries to become you. Welcome to TVP World. Yes, the real one, not to be confused with the knockoff version cooked up by Kremlin trolls. Just days ago, a coordinated Russian disinformation campaign unleashed fake videos impersonating us, TVP World, as well as Gazeta Wyborcza. The goal? To convince the Polish public that our May 18th presidential elections were being postponed due to migrant terror threats. And here's the kicker. They try to make it look official. The fake video used stolen branding, TV-style layouts, and even our fonts. Fonts! They're stealing fonts now. Now, as a standard practice for security and public trust, those videos were swiftly removed from social media platforms because Polish authorities and tech platforms acted fast to stop the spread of election disinformation. Showing the footage is prohibited because when a target is your electoral process, you don't let fakes linger and go viral. That said, screenshots and forensic breakdowns of the fakes are available. Shout out to NASK, Poland's cybersecurity wizards, and organizations like EU versus Disinfo, who publish detailed analysis showing how these fakes were constructed, amplified, and linked to known Russian FIMI, foreign information manipulation and interference campaigns. Here's how it worked. Freshly made or hijacked accounts launched the Disinfo, and then an army of fake profiles jumped in to amplify it within minutes, pushing the lies across platforms. This, of course, was a coordinated Kremlin effort to undermine Polish elections, and they tried stealing our branding to help sell it. Except it didn't go well. Their sock puppet newsreels got caught, their fake accounts got nuked, and their entire operation now lives in cybersecurity case studies as a how not to for aspiring digital saboteurs. But in case you saw the video and wondered if TVP World had gone off the rails, we didn't. That wasn't us, that was Moscow, in a trench coat, trying to sneak into the grown-up newsrooms. Oh look, the Kremlin's propaganda machine is taking a hot, steaming data dump, claiming that nearly 5,000 foreign mercenaries fighting for Ukraine have died in Russia's Kursk region. Now where are these mercs from, you ask? Poland, Georgia, Colombia, Japan. It's like NATO met the cast of Carmen Sandiego and sent them into rural western Russia. And the source of this battlefield fantasy? Allegedly Statista, a legitimate German data platform known for clean charts and boring accuracy. Spoiler alert, Statista has published none of this. No report, no graph, no Dead Mercenary Tracker 2025. But this is textbook Kremlin strategy. Slap made-up numbers on a glossy infographic, attributed to a reputable source, and hope the average viewer is too busy to check the facts. According to this bogus chart, Kursk has somehow become the Bermuda Triangle of foreign fighters, sucking in everyone from American commandos to Japanese operatives. Apparently, thousands of heavily armed NATO warriors just wandered into Russia and died quietly. As to be clear, this isn't intelligence. It's lazy, forge it on a lunch break kind of propaganda, custom built for an audience trained not to question but to nod, salute, and scream about NATO. So, why push this narrative? Well, because the reality is brutal for the Kremlin. A 3-day special operation is now well into year 3, and Ukraine is still standing. That's embarrassing, that's inconvenient, that's unexplainable. Unless, of course, you invent an entire army of international mercenaries to fight. That way, Russia isn't being outmaneuvered by a smaller, determined neighbor, it's heroically holding the line against the entire planet. It's World War III Kursk edition. And of course, Poland tops the chart, because when in doubt, blame the neighbor with a spine. Russia loves casting Poland as the eternal boogeyman, probably because here we actually read the fine print in its post-Soviet breakup and decided never again meant never again. Ask yourselves this, if thousands of foreign fighters had really died in Kursk, you'd think someone somewhere would have noticed. A grieving family, a news outlet, an international watchdog, but nope, no bodies, no obituaries, no diplomatic fallout, just a bar graph and vibes. Now here's a rerun of the Kremlin's favorite bedtime story. We only hit military targets. Well, someone should tell them that universities, dormitories, and food factories don't usually qualify as missile-worthy objectives. Now, Let's talk about what happened on the night of April 16th in Dnipro. Russia launched a massive drone strike, not a surgical strike, not a precision attack, but a good old-fashioned scorched earth barrage. The result? 3 civilians dead, one of them a child. 28 injured, including 4 more children. Homes were destroyed, a university building damaged, dormitories hit, a food production facility flattened. But don't worry, folks. According to Russian state propaganda, they were aiming at AFU deployment sites. Because clearly the front line has now moved to college campuses and bakeries. It's the same tired script we've seen after strikes on Sumy, Kryvyi, and pretty much every other Ukrainian city turned into a missile testing range by Moscow. Civilian areas got hit, people die, Russia says it was a military target, and then pats itself on the back for its successful operation. Let's call this what it is: state-sponsored terrorism with a PR strategy. You see, Moscow wants to shape the narrative, not just for the world outside, but for its own citizens who are fed a steady diet of lies wrapped in pseudo-military jargon. Eliminated enemy strongholds sounds a lot better on TV than kill a kid and blew up a dorm room. The goal here is strategic as it is cynical. Desensitize the Russian public, demoralize the Ukrainian population, and confuse the international community just enough to stall support. But here's the thing about the truth. It tends to leak through. No matter how many propaganda sandbags you pile on, the people of Dnipro, the emergency responders, the doctors treating the wounded kids, they all know what is hit. The charred remains of a student's desk aren't a military installation. The destroyed food factory does not launch counteroffensives. And the lifeless body of a child is not collateral damage. So next time you hear Moscow claims to struck military targets, remember this: their definition of target includes anything that dares to exist on Ukrainian soil, and no amount of propaganda can airbrush the blood off of those drone fragments. The unstoppable force of geopolitics has met the immovable object of fake babushka diplomacy. Let's take a look.
Трамп, ну что ты нашему президенту объявил какой-то дедлайн? Дедлайн? У себя его держи. Путину это не надо. Это мировой лидер. Он без тебя разберется, когда, кому, с кем. А ты начал вводить какие-то там ему графики, ограничения. У тебя там, у себя в Америке не получается ничего с бизнесом. И ты так, и тудое, и сюдое, и к обеду дома. Да, это на тебя похоже. Теперь уже видит весь мир тебя. Мы считали, что ты немножко так воспитаннее, немножко ответственнее, а ты тудое и сюдое, тарифы там перевернул всю свою Америку. Это твои дела. Не надо нашему Путину, лидера мира, не надо ему устраивать какие-то свои дедлайны.
Now, a group called Putin's Grandmothers, a Kremlin-funded senior fan club of the Russian president, has recorded this heart-filled and I get somewhat stunning video message to Donald Trump. The topic? US tariffs and terms for Putin. Yes, because of course, that's what average Russian grandmothers think about between knitting socks and pickling cucumbers. Now, clad in traditional shawls and patriotic zeal, the babushkas deliver their lines with a conviction of Cold War-era soap opera stars. Mr. Trump, they plead, please be nice to our Vladimir. Tariffs are bad for the soul and for Mother Russia's jam exports. One particularly stern-looking granny waves a jar of homemade preservatives like a diplomatic token. Another crochets a tiny missile as a show of goodwill. Now, they warn Trump not to give Putin any deadlines, suggesting in a tone that sounds like both advice and a curse that Vova never liked homework. The message is oddly soothing, vaguely threatening, and entirely internet-worthy. Now, as diplomacy goes, it's no Camp David, but as content, pure viral gold. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.